Nick, thank you very much. And I want to go now to the Republican governor of Maryland, Larry Hogan. He is the chair of the National Governors Association and was on a conference call with Vice President Pence today with governors, where I believe, Governor, you were told that the administration now considers the Washington metro area, which does include Maryland, a hot spot. And I know you have now, more than 4,000 cases, nearly 100 people have died. You've had a tripling in your caseload, and you are still where your rates of growth here are growing right now. Is that correct?
Well, so we're a couple of weeks behind some of the places that we just heard about in the previous report. We're just really starting to escalate. We're several weeks away from the peak, but I've been working to convince the leaders in Washington that we were the next hot spot. We were pleased today that the administration recognized Maryland, D.C., and Virginia as a hot spot. We've got about 10 jurisdictions in our state, about 5 million people between Baltimore and Washington that are really impacted directly and that are now considered hot spots. We've almost quadrupling of our numbers, and it's really the kind of Washington metropolitan area that's going to be one of the next real spots to watch.
Do you have everything you need? And if not, what do you need the most?
It's the same thing that you're hearing from other governors. I mean, this is a problem across the country, and we're working very closely with the federal partners. That's why we continue to have these discussions with the president and vice president and his team. And there's no sense just regurgitating the same stuff that you've heard from all the governors. But every single state has the same resource problems. And when you hit that peak in your curve, and if you don't have enough ventilators and you don't have enough PPE, you don't have enough masks and all the other protective equipment, it's the overload of the system that is causing the problem, and it's why we're all trying to take these aggressive steps to flatten that curve. We took some of the earliest and most aggressive steps in the country to try to not get to the point that we're seeing in some of those other places, but the time will tell of how successful they're going to be.
So, the president was talking about the call that you were on today with the vice president, with the governors, and he had this to say about it.
We're working very well with the governors. Now, they may see you and say, oh, we're not happy, but they're very happy on the phone. And Mike Pence is a straight shooter, and he had a great phone conversation to them with all of the governors, teleconference. And they're very happy, every one of them.
Is that fair to say that you're happy? You're happy with the situation? You're happy with what you're getting?
Well, the president was not on the call today and wasn't a part of the discussion, but I would agree that Mike Pence has been a straight shooter, that there's been really good discussion, and the governors, for the most part, we were thanking the vice president and the team, and there's a great team of people working really hard, Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx and all those folks that are trying their best to help us. But to say that we're completely happy would be an over-exaggeration. Obviously, you've heard from governors on both sides of the aisle. We're pleased with the effort by some of these great team members. Everybody's in this together, but we're not completely, everybody's got issues. We know everybody's working hard on it, but, I think it's, everybody's not completely satisfied.
So you also heard Dr. Fauci, just the soundbite that I played at the beginning. I don't know if you heard it, but he was saying there will be no returning to normal in this country fully until there is a vaccine. Would you agree with that? I mean, because obviously that you can talk about all sorts of, with doctors, all sorts of models of how they would try to rush that, but it seems like the best case scenario for that to be available and broadly distributed across the population is at best 12 to 18 months.
Well, so I've had a number of great conversations with Dr. Fauci, not only with all of the governors, but individually, one-on-one. And we have a great team of folks here that we talk to almost every other day, folks from places like Johns Hopkins and all of our top hospitals here in Maryland. And, there's all kinds of different modeling. Nobody knows exactly how bad it's going to be or how long it's going to last. Fauci is one of the guys who I respect the most. I think what he was trying to say is that even if we start to really come down on our numbers, we're not going to be able to return to completely just ignoring the virus and going back to our total normal lives where we're out shaking hands and not having some kind of distancing. If we don't have a cure, we don't have a vaccine to stop it, because he's afraid it might come back up again in the fall. So, look, everybody wants to try to get this thing beaten down and get back to some type of normalcy as fast as possible. But it's true that in talking talking to all of our experts, and we're working on possible vaccines here in Maryland at both Fort Detrick and at Johns Hopkins and a number of other. We're the home to NIH and FDA, but it's a ways off. I mean, we're 12 to 18 months from actually finding a vaccine and a cure, if you will.
All right. Well, Governor Hogan, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate your time.